Trying to make it right for everyone will make you feel like you can't do shit right. That's why in this week's episode, I want to talk about people pleasing and how to stop. People pleasing originates from a fear of abandonment. You're scared of setting boundaries, saying no, or disappointing someone because you're scared you might lose the relationship that you're having with them. In most cultures, you grow up with the expectations to fit in. You're expected to do everything right and to please the people that you view as your role models, such as your parents or your teachers. So, of course, you kind of get scared to do something wrong because you want to be liked. You want to be liked. I would assume that the kids with stronger temperaments and more freedom to do whatever they want at home put themselves at the top of the class while you never really got the chance to prove yourself. So you were stuck with trying to just fit in and not bother anyone. You were trying to not be a bother. We want to change that. So today, I'm going to try and help you learn some things that you need to learn within yourself in order to do what you want to be doing with your life without having to be scared or unsure of yourself and your own choices. So the first thing I need you to do throughout your days is pay attention to what makes you feel uncomfortable and how you react to it. An example would be someone's asking you to drive you somewhere and you don't really want to do it because gas costs money and you have better things to do with your time. And now you're scared that they might not like you anymore if you say no. That's a good example, I think. And I need you to pay attention to these kinds of moments and situations in your life. And also, I need you to pay attention to how you react to them. Probably you're just going to say yes anyways, but you really don't want to do it. But it turns out to be, fine because you made someone else happy. You made someone else's life easier. But you need to learn to step back and do what makes your life the easiest. So, for example, you could start asking for gas money. And I know asking people for money sucks, but there's a difference. Because if you want to go somewhere and pick them up and drive them there, that's your choice to do so. So I don't think that you should be asking for money for that. But if someone wants you to take them somewhere in your free time, I would assume it's fair to ask for money for the gas that you just spent, right? This is the type of situation I need you to look out for in order to understand yourself and to understand what makes you feel uncomfortable. And you don't have to immediately change something about your behavior because I know that's hard, but I just need you to pay attention because that's the first step. One thing I want to throw in there real quick is you do not have to be rude to get your boundaries respected. We all know a person that always gets rude as fuck when they don't like something or when things don't go the way they want them to. I don't want you to be that. You can be respectful and still get your boundaries across and make sure they're respected without being rude or lashing out or, whatever. I want you to be a good human being. And I want you to pay attention to how you articulate your needs and feelings, because being rude or mean will never make things work. At the end of the day, you will just feel like a shitty person. And if you don't, then you're just not self-aware enough. Okay, so now that you've figured out what kind of situations made you uncomfortable or where you would rather back out, I need you to practice saying no. Just say no. It doesn't have to be a straight no, but I want you to not find excuses. I want you to be honest to them and yourself. So I know that's what a lot of you guys do because I used to do it too, is find excuses why you can't hang out today or why you can't do this and that. Practice telling the truth because when you're texting, you will notice yourself, slipping into a lie. And I want you to stop and check yourself right then and there. And I want you to tell the truth. The truth is most of the time is really simple. Hey, I don't feel like hanging out today. And that's totally fine. Later in the video, I will give you some more things you can say. But again, I want you to tell the truth. There are some things you can't ultimately say no to. So I want you to learn how to compromise, but I want you to do it while still getting your boundaries respected. For example, you're going to the movies and your friend wants to watch this movie and you want to watch another movie. There's always a way to compromise without just, letting it slide. Like you can bring a good argument as to why you think the movie you're watching is better. And your friend can also give you a good argument and you can go from there. I don't want you to go ahead and tell your friend that, no, I don't want to watch this, so we're going to watch whatever I want, because that's crossing a boundary. Because that's bullshit. Being egotistical is not getting your boundaries respected. And it's not setting boundaries. It's just absolutely making things about yourself. And we don't want to do that either. So you see how it's kind of difficult to find the right path and to figure out what to do and what not to do? That's where I want you to stop and listen to yourself and your feelings. Like, you will very clearly feel it in your chest when you get uncomfortable with something. So for example, with the movies, if your friend wants to watch a horror movie and you get scared easily and can't sleep at night, you can absolutely tell them, hey, look, I know you want to watch this and I wish I could, but I really can't sleep at night if I watch this, so I'd be happy if we could watch something else. And I bet your friend would understand. And if they don't, that's not your friend. Something I'm always preaching is that I need you to spend time alone. I need you to spend some time alone and really think about those scenarios that I told you to think about or find at the beginning of the video, to really figure out what it is that makes you feel uncomfortable and what it is that made you still do it because you wanted someone else to be happy. You wanted someone else to like you and to like what you're doing. And I really need you to think about what it is or what it was that made you do it. Because being nice and helping people is a good thing. I don't want you to get that wrong. But I need you to prioritize yourself. Always. Because that's what the other people are doing too. Don't forget that. At the end of the day, the only thing you have in this world is yourself. So I need you to treat yourself accordingly. One thing I want to tell you too that I think is very important is people that make you uncomfortable are not your people. But they can only know that you're uncomfortable if you tell them. So I don't want you to cut off contact with someone just because they make you feel uncomfortable and you never even said something to them. I need you to speak to your people. Tell them, hey, look, actually, what you said made me feel uncomfortable, or what you asked me to do made me feel uncomfortable. And I need you to talk to them because they will not know. I'm sick of people pretending that you have to figure out what they are thinking or wanting from you, because that's just not how it works. If you don't tell me, I won't know. So I want you to speak to your people. Actively go and talk to them and set boundaries, but let them explain their side of things. But again, don't let them overrun you with explanations or excuses. Just listen to why they did what they did. And some people will always try and find some kind of way in which they can profit from you or your situation. So if you have friends or people around you that will always try to get something for themselves out of you, that's most likely not a real friend. And I'm sorry to tell you. So if you realize now that you do have some friends that you don't think are your people, I want you to actually speak to them about it too. And most of the time you will find a solution, but I will want you to think about things that you want them to change. Like, for example, your one friend always calls you fatty, and he thinks it's funny, and you don't, but you always laugh it off. I want you to actually sit down and tell him, hey, look, I don't like you calling me fatty. And I'm sure They will understand. And if they don't, leave. There's literally nothing else to say. Leave. You can tell them, hey, look, I don't think this is going to work if you don't respect me enough to not say things to me that I told you are hurtful. Now I want to talk about things that you can practice saying to your friends whenever you feel uncomfortable. Instead of just going along with it, you can say different sentences or things to communicate your needs and setting a boundary. Okay? So, for example, you and your friend are talking about something that you're not really comfortable with. You can just tell them, hey, this is making me kind of anxious or uncomfortable. Would you mind if we switch topics? Simple as that. It will absolutely be respected, because if you tell someone how you feel, who are they to discredit your feelings? If I ever said the sentence to someone and they did not respect it, oh my God. There's no words for these kind of people, really, because that's just ignorant. Or, for example, you don't want to go out with your friends today because you just don't feel like going out. There's no explanation needed, actually. You can just tell them, hey, I don't really feel like hanging out today. Would Friday work for you? So instead of just blowing them off, you can tell them, hey, look, today's not a great day, but you give them another opportunity to still see you and hang out with you. Of course, I don't want you to say this to your friends like 5 minutes before you're supposed to leave, but you get what I'm trying to say. Just communicate how you're feeling and just be honest. There's no shame in not wanting to do something, or just not feeling like doing something, or having other priorities. Just be honest about it. You don't have to lie and say your sister's sick or whatever. Really, just be honest. Because I know I appreciate someone being honest with me. And I know that because of that, I will always be honest to others as well. And there's no way for them to not respect it, because they have to. Again, the best thing I think you can do with whatever situation you're facing or going through is to actually sit with yourself and think about it. But I want you to not only think about the negative things that are happening, I want you to look at every scenario, and I want you to always find a way in which this scenario could work for you. Instead of sitting there and just feeling pity for yourself and, thinking that everyone and everything is against you, try and see how that could possibly work for you. Because the universe will test you over and over and over again until you've learned your lesson. Trust me, I've learned this the hard way, because I will make mistakes over and over again until I've actually learned my lesson, because that's just the kind of person I am. But when it happens for like the third or fourth time, I will notice the pattern, and I will have to sit with myself and change something. Because now I know that this is happening for a reason. For example, I was being cheated on in multiple relationships by multiple people, and I never went back to none of them. But I always got a weird feeling before it happened or while it was happening, and I was always manipulating myself into thinking, oh no, I'm just tripping. But they would always get more dismissive and more weird. And I would always sit there and try to communicate and find a way to solve my problems, when I should have just stepped back and listened to my intuition. Because I promise you, that shit is always right. Always. And I need to learn still to trust my intuition. And I promise you will need to do the same. And there's a difference between a gut feeling and intuition. Anxiety is not intuition. Sometimes it is, but we need to, see the difference. I have to be honest, I can't fix your fear of abandonment. And I can't fix your fear of being alone or disliked. But I promise you, once you get on the other side of it, you'll notice it wasn't even that deep. Because people are so caught up with themselves, they don't have the capacity to actually stand there and think about how you're feeling. So I need you to do that for yourself. Notice how you're feeling. Notice where you want to make changes. And go through that uncomfortable phase of having to rearrange your boundaries and friendships so you can live a more comfortable life, a more fulfilling life ultimately. And you can just calm down for a bit, because it is so exhausting having to be right for everyone, having to do the right thing, say the right thing, always be at the right place. It's exhausting, because who's going to do that for you? Nobody's going to do it. And if you have a friend who will, that's actually worth so much more than gold or anything. But I also want you to think about how you might be crossing other people's boundaries. And I want you to talk about that to someone too. For example, you ask your friend, hey, did what I said make you feel uncomfortable? Because I did not want to make you feel uncomfortable. That opens up a space for your friend to be able to talk about their feelings. And that's actually very important. Actually very important. You and your friends need to be able to be in an environment with each other where you can just feel comfortable and heard and understood. And you can also tell your friends, hey, look, I really don't want to do that, but I'm kind of scared you won't like me anymore. And I bet most of your friends will be like, why would I not like you? Because that fear of abandonment is coming from within yourself. Other people won't know how you feel, and they won't understand why you feel that way. So you can either sit there and try to explain it, or you can just say, hey, look, I'm trying to work through it, and I just want to communicate boundaries. That's essentially it. So people pleasing has a lot to do with your boundaries and how you choose to cross them, even though you don't feel comfortable with doing so, because you're scared. But also, it's other people crossing your boundaries, and you're allowing that to happen. So you need to sit with yourself and take a step back and notice and realize, why do I let this keep happening? When I was a kid, I didn't really have a lot of friends, and a lot of people would always double cross me or just act like I was invisible. They would do whatever they wanted. In PE, for example, they would pick me to be on their team. And I heard them say things like, oh yeah, let's pick him. Then we look nicer. Which is like, bro, we're in second grade. What do you mean? But I heard it, right? And as a kid, I didn't really, have the guts to get up and say something. But if I heard something like this today, I would stand up. I would walk up to these people and just literally, I wouldn't go off on them because that's not who I am, but I would start a conversation with a level of intellect that they cannot reach. And that's a fact, because most people are actually, I feel like most people have zero situational awareness. And if you're a person that has that, congratulations, I love you. So you just get up there and you just tell them, hey, look, why'd you just say that? And they will not expect you to stand up for yourself. Why'd you just say that? And watch them break that bridge all by themselves. You can be intimidating with just asking the right questions, but not intimidating in a way of scaring people, just in a very confident, calm way that makes people respect you. I, for myself, completely changed as a person. Like, if you looked at me as a kid and look at me now, this is like worlds apart. Because today I can walk into a room and I'm a very noticeable person and I'm a very likable person. I talk a lot, but like, I don't know why. People just like to listen whatever the hell I'm yapping about. But I just, talk with confidence. And I don't care how weird the thing is that I'm talking about. I'm just talking because that's what I want to talk about. For example, I just thought about that recently. You know, those kids that can just like be in a classroom or not be there and no one will notice the difference? That's not me. For example, on the first day of school, I'm going to trade school, by the way. The teachers, you know, they didn't know our names yet, but they all knew mine already. And not because I was, you know, disrespectful or did something wrong, just because I kind of have this presence when I go somewhere. It's kind of weird to explain, and I don't want to glaze myself, but it's just the confidence of being yourself and knowing what your place is. And when you know what your place is, you stop compromising for other people. And that's exactly that. I don't do things others ask me to do just because I'm scared that they might not like what I have to say. And that is something I want you to practice. That is something I want you to learn and understand for yourself. And I think it's actually very important that you do so, because you want to be able to unleash the full potential of being yourself, of being a person that you would like to be around, that you can look up to and be like, wow, today, that is something that was hard for me to do, and I did it regardless. And I can say I'm proud of myself. And that goes not only for people pleasing and being scared other people don't like you, that goes for so many other different things. And yeah, literally it's all just sitting with yourself and asking yourself the right questions. You will hear me say this a lot because that's literally what it is. If you want to know what those right questions are in specific situations that you might be in, you can leave a comment and I will try to help you ask the right questions. Yeah, I will try to help you and see what I can do for you. That's it for this week's episode. I think I said everything that I wanted to say. If you liked it, I would very much appreciate you giving this video a thumbs up and leave a comment just for the algorithm. Thank you very much. Yeah, that's it. I will see you guys next week. Thank you so much for watching and listening. I hope you're having a great day.